Hello, my name is Tori Smith, and I monitor a child trafficking operation and write reports about it in hopes that some people will care and want to close it down. It sure doesn't seem that way. It's been a rough day, although I did get the backyard mowed. It was very wet. We destroyed 800,000 temporals, which are artificial intelligence drone weapons that they use against us. Well over 14 million people have been injected with deadly toxic chemicals by these temporals, and they make and produce them every day, and every day we destroy them. You know, it's kind of like when somebody leaves a water faucet on and you have to just mop up the floor. You can't just go turn off the water faucet. You have to just stand there and mop up the floor. And we also arrested another 51 reptilians today. Unfortunately, I have really bad news. Child rapist and child murderer, Indiana Governor Mike Pence, has just raped and murdered another child. Mike Pence, who has raped 176 children now in this luciferian satanic child trafficking operation and also other locations, just murdered his 47th child. He murdered this child during forced sodomy while he choked the child to death. Now, this child was first abducted by a group of criminals called Child Protective Services, which is typical of the United States government. They put a fancy name up, which means exactly the opposite of what they're doing. It's not war heroes, they're war criminals. These aren't child protecting people, they're child raping and child murdering people. And this organization was from Memphis, Tennessee. This office was out of Memphis, Tennessee. Now, this organization of child abductors, child rapists, and child murderers called Child Protective Service has abducted 54 children and turned them over to be gang raped and murdered. Mike Pence and Charles Ergen, well, this is when I first pulled it up. I was alerted because of Mike Pence and Charles Ergen of the Dish Network. He's the CEO. They were raping a 4-year-old boy named Mark. And Mark was a little boy from Tennessee. He was about maybe 50 to 60 miles outside Memphis and abducted, like I said, by CPS, who drugged the child and raped him 7 times. Now, then this child, a 4-year-old boy from Tennessee named Mark, was raped a total of 117 times. Now, this is very, very typical for the United States of America. Every single day, children are gang raped and murdered in the United States. It's a luciferian satanic child trafficking operation, and it's operated by DARPA and the CIA, and most people who participate are military, policemen, corporate executives, and politicians. All males of the United States Senate rape children. And many of the House of Representatives, their aides, all the Secret Service rape and murder children, the CIA, the FBI, Department of Homeland Security, TSA, all of them rape and murder children. Now, Mike Pence murdered this little boy named Mark at 8:26 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which I believe is 6:26 Denver time. And like I said, this child was raped 117 times, 7 times by Child Protective Services, who drugged him, 12 times by the CIA, who also drugged him, 16 times by the FBI, 41 times by a group of males called Army Special Ops. 17 Air Force males then raped this little boy, 14 DARPA males, and then 5 CEOs. Including Dish Network, Charles Ergen. Now, these aren't exactly in order. This is just a total count of how many men raped this boy. And then the Texas governor, I believe is Greg Abbott, raped this child. The governor of California is named Edmund Brown. Oh, and I still forgot, I always blank out this guy. The governor of Colorado, I'll have to look it up because he raped and murdered another child just recently, and I forgot his name. And then the child was choked to death by Indiana Governor Mike Pence, who choked the child to death during forced sodomy. And, you know, this child was drugged over and over again. But they like the children to be drugged because that way they don't put up much of a resistance. And when the children are drugged, they die much easier. And they like the children to die at the same moment that they ejaculate into the child. That's very important to them because they're highly addicted to it. I mean, I've witnessed this with my own eyes. I've witnessed Mike Pence murder a child. You know, I've witnessed a lot of these men rape and murder children. And one time when I was being raped, they murdered 54 children in the room, and Mike Pence and Mitch Daniels were there, and they each raped and murdered a child. And another time, while I was being raped, they murdered 16 children in the room. And that was a group of Europeans. But I just wanted to let people know that this child who was raped, this 4-year-old boy named Mark from Tennessee, who was raped by 117 males, has just been murdered by Indiana Governor Mike Pence. Thank you for your prayers for ending this horrible satanic luciferian child trafficking operation. And heaven says that everything is done now to complete the closing down of this. We just need people to care. That's all we need now, to people to care. Because once a certain number of people care and want this child trafficking operation to stop, then that will trigger the arrests of all of them, and then it will be shut down. The problem I have with that is this is the United States of America, and people don't care. This is a service to self-country, full of people who love war crimes. They love to see people murdered in other countries, and they couldn't care less that children were being murdered by the thousands every month. But some of you do. At one point, we had 1,200. I believe now we have 1,300 people praying for this child trafficking operation to close down. And God bless you, God bless your hearts. I love you so much. Thank you so much for caring about these children as much as I do. Have a nice day.